One-foot-flipper.
Hi, Paige here, the 1 Foot Flipper. It's been another normal, consistent week here. My 30-day sales are hanging out around 12,800, and it's that 30-day total you really want to be looking at, because it doesn't matter if you only sold $3 yesterday, if you sold nothing. It's the average that's important, and my average has been above 12,000 for about 6 months now, and it's hanging the same place. I haven't really experienced this slowdown that a lot of other YouTubers are talking about. Maybe I've just been lucky. I don't know. Maybe it's my personal eBay strategy, because there's a lot of different eBay strategies you can do, and not every strategy is right for every person at all. And we'll get into more of that later. So I've been trying to go through things that have been in my death pile for years. And I posted a little video on Instagram of this bag full of war game sprues. A sprue is the thing you cut all the pieces out of to build the model. I had a big bag of them that I got in a collection over 2 years ago. They'd been sitting on the floor behind stuff for 2 years. I figured, that's too hard. That stuff's not worth anything. But later, now that I'm trying to go through everything, I started examining it. And that bag of sprues has gotten me almost $1,000 in listings and already over $300 in sales. Matter of fact, just right now I'm shipping out 13 different sprues for $185. Now, things like that are a more difficult item to sell because they're hard to identify. Sometimes they'll have serial numbers on them. Like, these are Games Workshop ones for Warhammer series. A lot of the newer ones from like the last 20 years will have a serial number down here. And that serial number may or may not actually give you a Google result as to what the item is. When I'm not sure, I just guess. I can usually figure out what game it goes to, and I just put Mystery Sprue, Warhammer, and I said, looks like Space Marines. What is it? With the question mark, and I guess the price. I hate price guessing, but a lot of times with things like these sprues, which aren't even complete most of the time, you kind of do have to price guess, unless you are an absolute expert, which I'm not. And speaking of price guessing, it's Kathy time. Didn't get these from Kathy, but finally, after a year and a half, I have broken even and now into the profit with these two on my Stampin' Up! Wooden stamps, because I had been watching our friend Old School Picker forever, and all the It's Kathy times, every single video talking about Stampin' Up! And when I got an opportunity to buy a bunch of Stampin' Up!, I did, but I wasn't paying enough attention, and I bought mostly a bunch of wooden stamps, and mostly what he's selling isn't wooden stamps. But finally, this week, I broke even on them. I sold a couple of lots. I sold a big lot off locally, and that got me to my purchase price. And then I saw on one of his latest videos visiting one of his friends' shops, and in that video, they pulled out and sold a stamp looked very much like this one. I was like, well, maybe I should give him another chance. So I did. And I think my problem was that I was actually doing too much research on those stamps when I was listing them before. I was trying too hard. I was putting too much time into every one of them, which isn't worth it for items that are probably going to sell for $4. I shouldn't be researching that for 15 minutes. So instead, I just burned through listing them, did almost no research. I mean, listing them, get price guessing basically, for the most part, unless it was very obvious what the item was, and not worrying about item specifics, and just one after another, and they've already started selling. Those two sold for $13.98, which puts me $13.98 into the profit on my stamps. So it'll be all profit Kathy time from here on out, without Kathy actually being involved. I sold a Journey Frontiers vinyl record for $13.99. Oh, I gotta move these screws out of the way or I'll crush them. scroll down. I sold 2 Dragon Shield card binders. These are the fake leather. They're not new, they're used, but they're in good shape, and I got $25 for those. I have a lot of binders because I used to have a huge card collection, and now I don't. Now, one thing where you're going to see different strategies are going to work different for different people is in promoted listings. You'll have people say they promote everything and they get no sales without promoted listings. Or you'll have me say that I don't promote much except for clothes, hats, and junk. And you'll have other people like Daily Refinement and Tech and Sports who have or had huge clothing stores and promote nothing and get huge sales. And it's because it's going to work different for everybody. Like, I can't give away a clothing item without promoting it because I don't have a lot of clothing in my store. So my clothing listings aren't leading people to look at my other clothing listings or anything like that. But if I had 5,000 shirts in my store, I wouldn't need to promote because people would be finding them constantly and looking at my other listings, and I wouldn't need to promote there at all. While somebody with 5 shirts in their store probably does need to promote those shirts. And promoted listings are going to matter based on what you sell. If the item you're selling is not an impulse item and it has a very specific name, then promoted listings aren't going to matter much at all. While if the item is an impulse item, or if the item is not really got a specific name that's easy to put down, like this, what would you call this? I know it's a piece of hand-built wargaming terrain, but it doesn't have a specific name or anything else. If I was to sell this, I would promote it. So it would rise to the top because nobody else has that exact item, or even if it had an exact name, it's not obvious looking at it what the exact name would be. I sold the Ventures 20 best hits for $11.99. It's so much more difficult to read these orders off now that I have 2 active accounts going. Sold 3 more records to a different buyer for a total of $45. Gary Wright, still in partial shrink wrap with hype sticker. Little Feet, Hoy Hoy. And Little Feet, Sailing Shoes. That was a total of $45 there. And St. Louis Blues hockey puck might have been game used. It is definitely vintage and sold for $5, and it's supposed to be a local pickup. And I think all I have left on this account is I sold 2 rather rare games for the Atari 400-800 computers, Gyrus and Time Bound. Same customer, total of $45. Another thing that is going to work differently for different sellers is shipping policy. I pointed out a couple of videos ago that Commonwealth Picker, his shipping prices and policies were all over the place on identical items. And then later I talked to him about it. It's because he doesn't do consistent policies for things like that. He decides what to do at every single item for a case-by-case basis based on what the competition is and his own gut and everything else. So one VHS tape might have free shipping. Another one might cost $5.39. Another one might cost $5.49. And he does everything case by case. And that seems to work great for him. I have about 5 different shipping categories using eBay business policies, and almost everything slots into one of those categories. I very rarely special case things at all, whether it's by shipping policies or anything else. I tend to do things in a very consistent manner that way, and also it's because I also list a huge number of items. I think it's because of all the cards that I used to do. I would just do so many listings every day that I just didn't have time to think about how each one's going to go. So I made up ways to just where I didn't have to think about it. There was no decision to be made. Oh, this is heavy. It gets the UPS shipping policy. This is less than 10 pounds, more than a pound. It gets the priority mail shipping policy, and so on. And another thing that's going to differ is items that you can successfully sell. I've decided I don't make money on low-end cards under $2. Doesn't make money for me at all. Other people completely disagree with me on that. One of which is my good friend Eden. And I visited him yesterday at his shop just to talk about this subject. And we'll put that up there. Hey everybody, we're here at Mystic TCG with the CEO, owner, and founder, Eden. And not only do they sell a lot of cards and games here, he also sells on eBay and TCG Player. Now, I never liked TCG Player because I didn't think it was worth my time, but I feel like you've had a different experience with that.
Yeah, we live and breathe by TCG Player.
And how low a price card will you sell on TCG Player?
Our minimum on TCG Player is 49 cents.
Okay, and your guys can pull that fast enough?
Yes, yeah.
Because you see, I can't pull 49-cent cards fast enough. I've timed myself and I cannot do it. But probably Eden's guys are faster than I am.
We have for big thing is Dragon Ball. We have every card organized by set by card, so it's pretty easy to pull. And every other game's organized alphabetically.
Okay, that is pretty good. See, I have one massive thing of Magic cards, 30,000 wide. Now it is by number. It is in alphabetical order by color and by. Yeah, it's just by letter and color, so if there's 200 cards in green A, I might have to look up through 200 cards to find that green card beginning with A. Yeah, see there, Eden is more organized here than I am.
You gotta be efficient with it, otherwise it's not worth it.
All right, well, that's his word on that, and I'm sure he's got a big event here about to start, so we're gonna let him get back to that. Thanks for talking with us, Eden.
No problem.
So, Eden is doing great with low dollar cards, and honestly, he's doing better than I am. And he's shipping cards at 49 cents and doing free shipping. Now, it's not free shipping for 49-cent cards. It's probably free shipping on orders over $5. That's the common TCG Player thing to do. And that's probably what him and his guys are doing. And it works for them because they're selling in some manners from a smaller pool of cards, but selling the same ones over and over again. And they have a very consistent sort policy, which allows them to make that money where I can't. All right, let's start looking at the other. We've got more sales because it is a weekend. I'll have to put this up on the screen. It is a vintage blue, white, gold palm leaf teacup. My wife sourced this because she wants to sell glass and be the crazy lamp lady. And it sold for $8.09. And that's another thing. Some people, because of their store type or who they are, can get sales on items that you'd never get a sale on. Like the person who has 800 unique glass items in their store will do better at selling them and command higher prices because one glass item will lead the users to look at their other glass items. Well, that person who's only got a couple, not going to command the same price, not going to show up as well in search. I sold 4 Star Wars figures. Rose and C-3PO and Rose and C-3PO again. Sold to the same customer. Rose is one of those figures that does not sell on her own. I guess she's just not very popular, or they overproduced her. Probably a little bit of both. So Rose, I allotted my Roses up with either C-3PO or with Paige, who was in the same scene as her. Paige is a little more popular, or maybe it's just a rarer figure. I'm not sure. And those are both going out to the same customer for 20 plus shipping. I sold a lot of 26 comic books. I sell my comics for the most part 26 at a time because I found that's how many I can get into a padded priority flat rate. And since things like that are hard to pick, I tend to price them a little bit higher than I think they'll go and lower them 10% every 10 days or 2 weeks, depending on how I'm feeling. I'm starting to find which price points are going to sell. Like if it's a bundle of 26 indie comics, for the most part, I don't even need to start that at more than $12 because it's not going to sell for more than $12. If it's like this is mostly 70s, 80s, early 90s Marvel, but not standout stuff. So this sold for $21.52 and I started it around $35 and that's how low it got. And with this sale, I'll know probably $21, $22 is probably where I should start a lot like that. Well, maybe a little higher, though, just in case I actually have a good comic in there. For the most part, I don't. I don't buy comics for resale. I'm only selling my old personal collection, and I was cheap and didn't have much money, and most of my comics came from the quarter bin. If they weren't good then, they're probably not going to be good now. I sold a Great Smoky Mountains new old stock, extra large, $10.93. It's got a bear on it. I'll throw it up on the screen since it's still wrapped in plastic. Have to throw this up on the screen because I can't find it. I sold an ab slide, ab roller workout training mechanism. Big old thing. Supposed to be in box S, and I have no idea where it is. I know it was under my daughter's bed for a while, but it's not there now, and I don't have a box S. Not sure where such a giant thing could be hiding in my house, but I'm sure I'll find it sometime after the video. I sold 3 packs of Wild and Free kitten card sleeves. Oh, and I just noticed these say small size. I hope I listed them as small size. I'll have to check back because there's 2 sides of gaming cards. Basically, there's small size, which is Yu-Gi-Oh, and normal size, which is everything else. These sold for $10 unless I mislisted them, in which case I'm going to have to refund the customer. 2 packs of 1950s Cruise Line playing cards sold for $9.89. That was I think that was Goodwill bins or possibly flea market pickup. And finally, I sold a Battle for Oil war game board game here with no vehicles. Somebody had taken all the vehicles out and built them, and they weren't in the box anymore, and I sold that for $21.86. This one's going overseas to one of our service members. And I think that's about it. I'm continuing to source from my death pile. No, because I spent too long taking the easiest route, listing the easiest things first, and leaving the hard stuff. And I'm not going to do that anymore. If anything, when I bring home a new box of stuff, I'm going to list the hardest stuff first. It's easy to list the easy stuff. You don't want all the hard stuff and the bad stuff to pile up at the end. Thanks for everything. Hope to see you again soon.